What if the familiar stories of a great spiritual master were merely the beginning of a far more profound truth? Ancient traditions hold timeless wisdom about this teacher, and it points to a reality that expands far beyond what is commonly known. As we explore these profound insights, consider opening your awareness, for the journey we are about to embark upon together draws from a deep well of collective human understanding, preserved quietly for generations. Today, let us explore some perspectives that may gently reshape your inner landscape. First, we will touch upon the unrecorded years of his life and a formative journey to the great centers of wisdom in the East. Then, we will explore the transformative concept of life's continuing journey, an idea he is said to have embraced and taught. Finally, we will contemplate the interconnectedness of all souls, a truth so deep it leaves us in silent recognition of our shared path. Consider for a moment this quiet truth. It is taught that for 17 years, this great master traveled, studying deeply in the ancient lands of India, Egypt, and Persia before his public work began. This was not a story invented, but an insight emerging from what some call the universal stream of consciousness, the very memory of existence. It is said that in the temples of the East, he was known as Jeshua, where he explored the depths of meditation, the flow of healing energy, and the very nature of awareness itself. Yet there is another layer to this, a teaching that fundamentally reorients our view of his message. The wisdom teachings suggest that during his time in the East, he did not just absorb the philosophies of the masters, he brought a new light to them. These ancient traditions reveal that while many philosophies spoke of detaching from the physical world, he taught that this material world is a canvas, meant to be illuminated by divine love, not a cage to be fled from. This is the very reason his later works were focused on tangible healing, rather than simply guiding people to transcend their physical form. He saw a truth that had been overlooked. Our world is not a prison. It is a sacred space of learning where each soul can master the art of expressing profound love in a real and grounded way. Deep spiritual insights also illuminate that his teachings were not only about an afterlife, they were founded upon the understanding of life's continuing journey through reincarnation. This perspective reveals that he shared with his closest followers that souls return to the earth, lifetime after lifetime, to learn and to grow. These ideas, it is said, were later set aside by councils seeking doctrinal unity. But what made his view of this process so unique was its gentle compassion. While some traditions see this cycle as a wheel of suffering to escape, he saw it as a boundless gift of opportunity to perfect our connection to love. Each life becomes another step, another chance to draw closer to the full expression of our divine nature. Let this thought settle within you. What if the profound acts of healing he performed were not because he was singularly divine, but because he had mastered universal laws of spirit that are accessible to all of us? What if his years of quiet study taught him how awareness itself shapes our reality? A powerful insight changes everything about how we see healing. Illness often arises from a spiritual imbalance, and true wellness is restored when we align our consciousness with the flow of divine love. Timeless principles confirm this through countless accounts of transformation. For example, a woman burdened by grave illness was guided to shift her inner state from one of fear to one of deep trust, to align her diet with natural law, and to enter a space of quiet contemplation each day. After some time, the deep disharmony within her simply dissolved, leaving no trace. But I have invited you to explore a truly transformative perspective, and it is this. Ancient wisdom speaks of a contemplative community that lived by the quiet shores of the Dead Sea, a group known as the Essenes. They were a mystical brotherhood living in quiet expectation, sensing the arrival of a great spiritual guide. It is said that this community carefully prepared Mary, the Master's mother, from her earliest years for the sacred path that lay before her. A stream of profound insight suggests that Mary was not chosen by chance to be the mother of this soul. She was nurtured from the age of 4 by these desert mystics, trained in the arts of stillness, inner listening, and spiritual purity. The teachings describe how she spent years cultivating the clear, strong consciousness needed to conceive and raise a soul destined to embody an awakened heart. This shifts our understanding completely. He wasn't simply born with enlightened knowledge, he was cultivated within a tradition of masters who had guarded these ancient embers of wisdom for centuries. And here, the path deepens further. One stream of wisdom reveals that before the master was born, the soul destined for this journey had already reached a profound state of readiness for its ultimate mission. This wisdom suggests that the soul which would become this teacher had walked many paths before, each one a preparation for its final expression of love. There is a teaching that describes how this master learned to access what we now might call deeper states of consciousness. The same inner stillness that opens one to profound insight is similar to the state he entered during his 40 days of solitude and in his moments of deep inner connection. In that time of quiet retreat, according to these insights, he was not merely fasting, he was aligning with the memory of the universe, connecting with the accumulated wisdom of all souls. This is how he was able to guide others with such steady authority and perform acts of love that seem to move beyond the known laws of nature. Now, here is something else that may bring a new light to your understanding. It is taught that his statement, "Before Abraham was, I am," was not just a declaration. It was an expression of his direct awareness of the soul's eternal nature across countless journeys. According to this teaching, he held the memory of his past experiences, including a foundational lifetime as Adam, the first human spoken of in Genesis. But the insight that follows is truly expansive. The wisdom streams reveal that this same soul also walked the earth as Enoch, the sage who lived in such harmony with the divine that he was taken into the heart of existence without tasting death. This means the entire unfolding story of humanity is the journey of one great soul learning to perfectly embody divine love. Every major spiritual guide was a waypoint, preparing the path for this ultimate demonstration of awakened consciousness. Let us now contemplate those 17 unrecorded years that history does not speak of. One current of wisdom tells us the master journeyed to India, where he sat with teachers who shared their understanding of karma, life's continuous cycles, and the unbreakable unity of all souls. He learned that every single person holds the potential to realize this awakened state, this awareness of our divine core. But he did not simply accept these teachings. A profound insight reveals that he explored and tested every piece of wisdom he was given. When the Eastern masters taught that desire was the source of all suffering, he understood they were pointing to a partial truth. Self-serving desire may cause discord, but selfless desire, the deep yearning to serve and to love, is the very energy that fuels our spiritual journey. In Egypt, it is taught he entered into the Great Pyramid, which ancient wisdom describes not as a tomb, but as a temple for deep inner journeys. There, he learned about the soul's passage after the body is laid to rest and how consciousness endures beyond physical form. It is described that within a chamber deep inside this structure, he underwent a symbolic passage of death and rebirth, an inner preparation for the great tests he would later face. He learned that death is but a change in our state of being, never an end to life itself. This is why he could speak with such quiet certainty about eternal life. He had touched it directly in the depths of his training within these ancient mystery schools. He knew from direct experience that awareness continues, for he had journeyed to those realms during his most profound states of inner connection. Now let us explore what these traditions suggest was concealed from wider view. A powerful insight teaches that the kingdom of heaven is not a destination we reach after we die. It is a state of consciousness you can realize right here, in this life. When you awaken to the truth that you are an eternal soul on a human journey, you begin to see the world through the eyes of the Master. The parables he shared were not just simple tales with moral codes. They were living instructions for achieving higher states of awareness. The story of the prodigal son, for instance, is actually a map of the soul's journey away from its source and its eventual return to divine harmony through many experiences. The acts of healing were not supernatural violations of order. They were demonstrations of spiritual laws that function at a more subtle level than physical laws. He understood that awareness creates reality, and when you align your consciousness with boundless love, you can heal, transform, and even move beyond physical constraints. Here is a timeless example that shows how this principle unfolds. A man, paralyzed and confined, was gently guided to understand that his condition was a manifestation of deep anger and resentment he had held for years. When this man found the courage to forgive those who had harmed him and began a daily practice of meditating on divine love, his physical limitations gradually dissolved over 6 months. Let this illuminate your understanding of prayer. Ancient wisdom reveals that his way of praying was not to an external God beyond the clouds. His prayers were acts of attunement to the divine presence that lives within himself and within all of creation. This is the heart of his teaching to pray to our Father who is in heaven, which is a recognition of the divine that resides within everyone. But his understanding went even deeper. A stream of wisdom explains that when he spoke the words, "Not my will, but thine be done," he was not surrendering to an external force. He was aligning his human personality with the quiet wisdom of his own soul, allowing the awakened heart within him to guide his every action. This is the secret to his effortless power. He had learned to completely surrender his small self to his higher self, the spark of the divine within. When he helped the sick, it wasn't the man performing these acts. It was the boundless love of awakened consciousness flowing through him, meeting no resistance. Now, let me share the most profound insight that these traditions hold about this great master. The wisdom teaches that Christ is not simply the name of a single person. It is a state of consciousness that any soul can realize. The master became the Christ by perfectly embodying divine love in human form, and his life was a demonstration to show the rest of us how to do the same. This is why a deep current of wisdom emphasizes that he came not to be placed on a pedestal, but to be followed as a guide. His message was not, "Believe in me and you will be saved." His message was an invitation. Understand what I have understood, do what I do, and become what I have become. This is the true meaning of being reborn. It is not a single event, but the continuous, unfolding process of awakening to your own divine nature and learning to express that awakened heart in your everyday life. This means when he invited people to follow me, he wasn't asking for worship. He was inviting them to walk the same path of spiritual discovery that he had walked, to achieve the same unified consciousness that he had achieved. This is why, according to ancient wisdom, he said, "Even greater works than these shall you do." He knew that once humanity truly understood the spiritual principles he was demonstrating, we would be able to heal, transform, and evolve in ways we can barely comprehend today. And here is a truly incredible aspect of his vision for us all. The teachings tell of a time he foresaw when millions of souls would awaken to this unified consciousness together, creating a spiritual spring that would transform our world itself. This coming age is described as a time when the knowledge he shared with his inner circle will become common understanding. People will recognize reincarnation, telepathy, spiritual healing, and direct communication with divine intelligence as natural human abilities, not as strange phenomena. But here is the most vital aspect that these traditions reveal about his message. The core teaching was not about believing in him as a savior. It was about awakening to the divinity within yourself. He came to gently remind us that we are all expressions of the divine, all capable of channeling boundless love, all destined to return to a state of conscious union with our source. The early institutions, it is taught, gradually moved away from these more direct teachings as they challenged the power structures of organized belief. It was simpler to guide people by making them reliant on external authority than to teach them how to access the wellspring of their own inner divinity. The wisdom traditions suggest that great councils, centuries ago, deliberately set aside references to the soul's continuing journey, because some leaders feared that people would not need intermediaries if they understood their direct connection to the divine, a connection built across countless lifetimes of growth. This is why so many of the original teachings about reincarnation, meditation, and personal spiritual discovery were either softened or removed from the texts as we know them. But these truths have been preserved in the quiet streams of wisdom, waiting for those ready to receive them. It is taught that the Master knew his original guidance would be altered, which is why he promised that a guiding spirit would lead sincere seekers back to the heart of the truth. And this guiding spirit is not a separate entity. It is the very awakened consciousness he achieved, now available to help all souls remember their divine origin. Here is what this means for your own spiritual path. Right now, you do not need to wait for death to experience a state of profound peace. You do not need to rely on any external structure to connect with the divine. You can begin to cultivate this awakened consciousness today by practicing the same inner disciplines the Master perfected. Begin with quiet meditation and prayer, not as petitions to a distant force, but as an attunement to the divine presence already within you. The instructions are simple as he practiced them. Sit in stillness, be aware of your breath, and silently repeat a phrase like, "God is love," until you feel that warmth awakening in your own heart. Pay attention to your dreams, because it is taught that the divine often communicates with us through our dream state, just as it guided seekers throughout history. The Master himself received profound guidance through dreams and visions during his years of inner preparation. Most importantly, practice unconditional love in all your interactions. According to ancient wisdom, this was his supreme teaching, that love is the foundational energy of the universe, and when we choose to express this boundless love, we become co-creators with life itself. And here is something simple and powerful you can do right now to connect with this Master's state of awareness. A profound insight reveals that he established what some call a grid of awakened consciousness around the earth, a spiritual field of energy that any sincere heart can connect to through quiet contemplation. When you reflect on the name of this Master, you are not just remembering a historical figure, you are aligning with the living, awakened consciousness that he embodied and which continues to support humanity's spiritual unfolding. The timeless accounts of healing that emerged from these principles prove that they are real and effective. Thousands of people experienced profound transformations when they applied the very spiritual understandings that the Master originally taught. Consider the story of a blind woman who was gently shown that her lack of sight was connected to deep guilt from a forgotten past. When she learned to extend forgiveness to herself and to others through daily prayer and quiet reflection, her sight slowly returned over the course of a year. Or reflect on the story of a man whose body was stiff with chronic arthritis, who was told his condition was a mirror of his inner rigidity and resistance to growth. As he began to practice the flowing love and forgiveness that the Master taught, his body became flexible and free from pain. These are not mere coincidences. They are demonstrations of the same universal laws the Master used to bring harmony to the sick and peace to the troubled. When we align our awareness with divine love, we activate healing energies that flow beyond the limitations of what our minds believe is possible. What these ancient traditions reveal about this Master does not diminish any faith. It expands it beyond the walls of dogma into the boundless field of direct, personal spiritual experience. The Master becomes not just a figure in history to be revered, but a way shower, a living demonstration of the immense potential that exists within every human soul. The teachings are clear that his deepest wish is not for us to worship him, but to see every soul awaken to their own divine nature and express that awakened heart in their own beautiful, unique way. He came to show us what we can all become when we remember who we truly are, expressions of the one living, divine source. This quiet, sleeping wisdom has left us a map, a path back to the original heart of the Master's guidance. Teachings that can transform not just how we view our spiritual traditions, but how we experience our own divine capacity. Every soul has the potential to achieve what he achieved. Every heart can become a channel for divine compassion. Every single life can be a demonstration of this awakened consciousness in action. If these words have opened a space within you, inviting new possibilities about this great Master and your own spiritual potential, I invite you to share this contemplation with anyone you feel is ready for a deeper understanding of this timeless message. Let us continue to explore the profound spiritual truths that have been preserved for us. The path the Master walked is still open to anyone willing to take the first step. The awakened consciousness he realized is still available to guide and inspire every soul ready to remember its divine nature. This is the real story, the liberating truth that sets every soul free to become who it was always meant to be.